all this is nonsense. Me and Big U even had a conversation about it. And I said, man, I'm sorry you're getting dragged into this fake storyline. Not that I have anything to do with it, because I've never interviewed Loose Cannon or anything else like that. But I just as someone I'm cool with, I said, I'm sorry that this is the story that's going out and people are running with it.
They say the streets of Los Angeles never sleep, but last night, even the city itself seemed to pause. Big U's world shattered in an instant. His son, baby Yui, gone, taken in a moment of unimaginable violence. And as grief would have anyone retreating into silence, something darker was unfolding online. Nipsey's own crew, men who once stood shoulder to shoulder with legends, began mocking him. Cryptic posts, taunting comments, energy that cut sharper than any blade. This wasn't just disrespect, it was a statement. The whispers are spreading fast, fans are enraged, and the internet is divided. But what really happened behind the screens? And what does this betrayal mean for the legacy of two of LA's most iconic names? Tonight, we uncover it all.
Again, Big U, his son, baby Yui, or Big Yui, right? He was assassinated last night on Halloween out there in LA.
Big U, real name Eugene Henley, has always been more than a name in the streets. For decades, he was a mentor, a connector, the man who could open doors where most saw walls. And then came baby Yui, his pride, his son, the young man who carried the weight of legacy even before he had a chance to understand it. Last night, Halloween, that world collapsed. Baby Yui was assassinated, gone before he could even carve out his own chapter in the story that Big U had fought so hard to protect. The reaction was instant. Fans flooded Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, all struggling to process the shock. "I can't believe this," one user typed, voice cracking through the text. "Big U deserves better," another added. In South Central, the streets themselves were whispering. People weren't just angry. They were mourning a future stolen, a young life erased in an instant. And while the city grieved, the online world began to twist that grief into something else. It started small. Cryptic posts, comments that seemed innocent at first glance, but for anyone who knew the history, they were loaded. Nipsey's old affiliates, men who had once shared the grind and the vision, were laughing in emojis, posting hints, dropping phrases that felt deliberate. One post said, "Energy comes back around," another, "Full circle." To the outsider, it might seem like petty drama. But to insiders, every word carried weight, a coded jab at a man who had once been untouchable. I spoke with a source who knew both sides. They said, Big U and Nip were like brothers once. They built more than music, more than contracts. They built a path for the kids in the streets, programs, travel teams, deals that could change lives. But after Nip passed, everything shifted. People forgot loyalty. Respect faded. There were reminders of what once existed. Big U had led a program with hundreds of kids, had Adidas contracts worth millions, even collaborations that had the potential to elevate an entire community. Then Nipsey's death shattered the balance. Deals were lost, trust fractured, friendships strained. I remember, a former associate whispered, Big U almost went broke. He kept his pride, but the streets, they saw everything unravel. And now, with his son taken, the tension resurfaced. Not just the grief, but the underlying fractures that had never healed. Social media exploded with reactions. Screenshots of the mocking posts circulated quickly. Fans debated in threads, arguing over intention, context, and history. People who had never been close to the story began picking sides. Some condemned Nipsey's crew for disrespect. Others defended them, claiming the posts were taken out of context. But the timing, the tone, the history, it all painted a darker picture. Big U stayed silent. No public response, no angry posts, no interviews. For someone so experienced, this silence spoke volumes. It was restraint, strategy, an unspoken warning. The wrong move now could ignite a fire that the streets couldn't contain. And yet, every day, the whispers grew louder. They're testing him, one observer noted. They want to see if the legend will crack under pressure. But Big U, he doesn't crack. Not easily. Meanwhile, the younger generation watched closely, some in disbelief, others in awe of the tension. Conversations in South Central, from Crenshaw to Englewood, echoed the same sentiment. Loyalty was a code, and some had just forgotten it. Grief had become a weapon, and social media was the battlefield. Every post, every comment, every subtle taunt carried history and menace. This wasn't just about Baby Huey. It was about what he represented, a lineage, a bond between two of LA's most influential figures, a legacy built on respect and trust. And with Nipsey's crew seemingly mocking that grief, the message was clear. The streets remembered, and so did the internet. But the question lingering in every mind, from fans to insiders, was simple and chilling. How far would the disrespect go before the silence broke? As the night stretched on, whispers turned into chatter, chatter turned into accusations, and the digital world became a mirror reflecting every fracture, every old wound. Nipsey's crew, the men who once built empires alongside Big U, were now under scrutiny. Screenshots surfaced of private DMs, posts deleted too quickly to read fully, but screenshots never lie. One read, "Karma's a circle. Some pay in ways they can't see coming." Another said, "Lessons come in all forms. Some young blood learns it too late." Every word was calculated, every tone deliberate. For insiders, the message was unmistakable. This was more than trolling. This was a test, a reminder that loyalty, once sacred, could be weaponized. Big U's silence continued, but behind closed doors, the tension was palpable. Sources close to him whispered about meetings that lasted hours, phone calls that went unanswered, and friends who feared retaliation. "It's not just grief anymore," one said. "It's about respect, power, and control. They're crossing lines that shouldn't be crossed." And yet, even in the face of provocation, Big U remained composed. Every rumor, every cryptic post, he weighed them, measured them, calculated them. He knew that one wrong reaction could ignite a war that no one wanted to see. Meanwhile, the past resurfaced in ways no one expected. Old interviews and footage emerged where Nipsey subtly distanced himself from Big U, hints of disagreement, differences in vision, whispers of betrayal, nothing outright, but enough to suggest cracks in what everyone thought was unbreakable. Fans and insiders began connecting dots, realizing the feud had deeper roots than anyone remembered. The people who had once cheered for unity now found themselves dissecting old messages and replaying conversations in their heads. Loyalty, they realized, had been tested long before Baby Huey was even born. Then came the leaks, messages from unknown accounts claiming to be former affiliates. They spoke of deals gone wrong, promises broken, and alliances that had shifted quietly in the shadows. One DM, allegedly from someone close to Nipsey's inner circle, said he built it, but some forgot who stood beside him. Everything comes back. Another added, respect is earned, remembered, or reclaimed. Choose your moves carefully. The tone was chilling, a blend of grief, pride, and veiled threat. Everyone reading it felt the weight, not just of past betrayals, but of consequences yet unseen. Fans and community members reacted in real time, some angry, some fearful. Threads exploded with comments. "They're disrespecting Big U at his worst," one user typed. "How can anyone mock a father losing his son?" another asked. And the debate spread offline too, conversations spilling into the streets of LA, Crenshaw, South Central, Englewood, all buzzing with the same question. How far would the disrespect go before the silence ended? Through it all, Big U's approach remained deliberate. He didn't lash out. He didn't respond online. But the energy around him shifted. Whispers of unseen meetings, discreet warnings, and subtle confrontations began circulating. The streets knew that when a man like Big U acted, it wasn't reckless, it was precise. And the internet, hungry for drama, couldn't help but speculate. Some wondered if revenge was coming, others believed this was simply a test of character. By dawn, the story had evolved from tragedy to a tense chess game. Every cryptic post, every comment, every old clip now carried meaning. Betrayal, once subtle, now loomed large. And in that looming shadow, one fact became clear: nothing about this situation was simple. Grief had collided with history, loyalty had been questioned, and the digital world had amplified every slight. And for those watching, The question lingered like a storm cloud over the city. Who would make the first move, and how far would the consequences reach before the truth finally surfaced? By the time the city woke the next morning, the storm had only grown stronger. Social media feeds were flooded with outrage, disbelief, and speculation. Fans debated endlessly, some defending Nipsey's crew, others calling out the mockery as unforgivable. But for those closest to the story, it wasn't just online chaos, it was the culmination of years of buried tension finally boiling to the surface. Every post, every message, every cryptic emoji carried the weight of history. Leaked DMs started surfacing from accounts claiming to be insiders. One read, "You think grief makes a man weak? Watch what patience can build." Another said, "They played the wrong hand. Timing is everything." Even without names attached, the intent was clear. The threats weren't loud, they were precise, surgical, a reminder that the streets never forget and the past has a memory of its own. Big U's camp remained silent publicly, but sources described private confrontations behind closed doors. One insider revealed, "He doesn't act in haste." But everyone knows, if the line is crossed, consequences follow. He's measured, he waits, he watches. And in those waiting moments, tension grew almost unbearable. The younger generation online had no context for decades of history. They saw drama. They didn't see the fear, respect, and power dynamics at play. Meanwhile, whispers of long-hidden betrayals began to emerge. Old associates claimed that Nipsey, even at the height of his fame, had quietly distanced himself from Big U, not out of malice, but strategic survival. And now, years later, that rift was being exploited by opportunists, twisting grief into spectacle. One DM allegedly from Nipsey's former manager said, "Respect is currency." Some forgot to pay their dues. Now, the balance is tipping. The word spread like wildfire, leaving both fans and insiders questioning loyalty, honor, and who could be trusted. The fallout wasn't limited to messages. Calls between crews, whispered conversations in South Central, and online debates painted a chilling picture. People who once celebrated unity were now polarizing into camps. One source described a heated exchange. "You think this is about clout? It's about lineage. It's about respect. Cross him, and you cross the wrong family." The energy wasn't just anger, it was a warning, subtle but unmistakable. And yet, in the midst of all the tension, Big U remained an enigma. No social media rants, no confrontations, just measured silence. But silence, in this context, was louder than any post could ever be. It carried authority, a quiet reminder that some forces in LA don't need to announce themselves, they are felt. Even Nipsey's most loyal followers started to reconsider the narrative they had believed for years. What looked like petty trolling was layered, calculated, and tied to decades of unspoken history. By the evening, the city's pulse had shifted. Conversations in Crenshaw, South Central, and even beyond LA reflected a new understanding. The mockery was more than disrespect, it was a spark in a powder keg built by betrayal, grief, and fractured legacies. And though no one knew exactly what would happen next, one truth was undeniable. This was a turning point. Some fans predicted retaliation. Others believed lessons would be learned quietly. But the insiders knew the tension would linger, an invisible thread connecting grief, loyalty, and power that could unravel at any moment. Big U's silence was no weakness, it was a message in itself. And as night fell over LA, the city held its breath, wondering who would act first and how the legacy of Nipsey, Big U, and Baby Huey would survive the storm. In the end, one thing was hauntingly clear: the streets remember. The internet amplifies, and grief never comes without consequences. The line between loss and betrayal, respect and revenge, had never been thinner, and everyone watching knew that whatever happened next could change everything. The night may have ended, but the storm is far from over. Big U's grief, the loss of Baby Huey, and the shocking mockery from Nipsey's own circle have left a mark that won't fade quietly. Fans are outraged, insiders are whispering, and the streets are holding their breath. What really happened behind those leaked DMs? Who will make the first move, and how far will the consequences ripple through LA's legacy? Some say retaliation is coming, Others believe silence will speak louder than any post. But one thing is clear, this story isn't finished. There are calls we haven't heard, messages we haven't seen, and secrets that could change everything. If you want the next chapter, the leaked conversations, the hidden truths, and the fallout no one saw coming, comment below and stay tuned. This might feel like the end of one chapter, but what happens next changes everything.